What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we've got some Destiny 2 news and updates to cover. And so starting out, we get some Bungie updates, clarification about the mid-season patch, as well as corrections around patch notes for next week, so we'll cover that. But additionally, Bungie have unbanned a handful of players after false bans, and they apologised by giving them silver, which is an interesting one. Additionally though, we've got some updates for this week's reset, new secrets unlocked, and some very interesting raid cheese which sends Crota flying into the depths. And then there's more bad press for Bungie in the form of an upcoming lawsuit, plus we've got a few other things to cover in today's video. So, as always, I hope you enjoy this one, and without further delay, let's get into it. And so starting out today with a couple of quick updates from Bungie. Firstly, they clarify that Season 22's mid-season update will be live on October 17th. Bungie did outline the details for a few changes in the sandbox that we'll see, including nerfs to exotic armor, and that includes Younger Hamkara's spine and the Antaeus wards. There'll also be some weapon changes in that update, and of course that's also the week that Festival of the Lost will go live, so should be an interesting one, and Bungie will probably give us extra details later in the week. But Bungie also clarified, following the TWID the other day, that the blog post has been updated to clarify the section discussing exotic focusing and Ascendant shards, not alloys, and they're reducing the Ascendant shard cost for both tiers of exotic focusing. They had referred to Ascendant alloy changes, but as they outline, that actually meant to refer to Ascendant shards. And yes, funnily enough, I'd read that entire blog post without realizing that they were referring to the wrong currency, but good to get some clarification about that nonetheless. Another quick update here that may help some folks, but a few players have been complaining about Destiny crashing, and for players on Steam, Bungie have said they've seen reports that using the non-beta version of Steam on PC resolves the issue. So if you are having consistent crashes, or other problems loading up Destiny on PC, it'll be worth checking that you're not using the beta version of Steam, as there appear to be some issues with that currently. So it's just something to keep in mind on that front. Something else interesting worth covering right here, but Tom Warren on Twitter shared that Bungie is now unbanning a small number of Destiny 2 players that were banned through no fault of the player, and some are getting 5,000 silver as an apology for being incorrectly banned. And so that's interesting, there's a ticket response here from Bungie, and it says your Destiny 2 account has been unbanned effective immediately, and within a week we will grant you 5,000 silver to use in the Eververse. We sincerely apologise for what must have been a frustrating experience, and along with a small number of other players, your account was inadvertently flagged as having tampered with the game client functionality. While the overwhelming majority of these detections are accurate, we discovered that in extremely rare cases, this detection may be triggered through no fault of the player. This error was determined as part of our auditing process, and we acted as quickly as possible to validate the issue and rescind the small number of inadvertent flags. And they finished by saying our detections have been updated to prevent this from happening again. So an interesting response there. Of course, players have claimed they've been falsely banned in the past. Obviously, it's very difficult to verify those cases, but Bungie have clearly recognized a recent error on their part, and in those cases they've awarded some silver to players, so as many in the community have joked, that's nearly enough silver to buy an armor set from Eververse. Although I suppose if you were falsely banned, it's certainly better than nothing. Probably the case that hasn't affected all that many players, but interesting to cover nonetheless, and give us your thoughts about it down below. Something to mention for this week's reset though, there is a new Arcana card which can be found in Sabbath and Spire, as well as a new Embaro engine test, which is the navigation test. I haven't completed them yet as I've been unwell these past few days, and as well as being away from home for a couple of weeks, I'm catching up on a bunch of stuff, but if you want a guide on how to find the new card and complete the Embaro engine puzzle, 360 Game TV has a guide which may be useful, so I'll link that down below. My only other mention in relation to secrets for today though, and a lot of players have been asking will we get an exotic quest or mission or anything like that this season? And at the moment it's safe to say we have absolutely no information about a potential exotic which hasn't been found yet. The vast majority of the time when there is an upcoming exotic it is found either via data mines or teasers from Bungie, but this season we don't have anything to go on at the moment. Obviously if there were to be an exotic quest or something like that, the Embaro engine would probably be the prime candidate at the moment, but unless Bungie have hidden a new exotic very well, better than they normally do. For the moment, it doesn't appear that we're going to get anything like that this season. Some players say because we get a reprise raid, that means we won't get an exotic mission, and that isn't necessarily true. Who knows, Bungie could drop something in the mid-season update, but again, currently there are absolutely no threads that indicate this is a possibility, so I would certainly keep expectations on the low side, and if we were to get something, obviously it would be a pretty pleasant surprise. So seeing as I've had a lot of questions about it, I just thought it was worth a quick mention right there. Up next though, something interesting right here, and Snazzy Rock managed to get the first kill of Crota in Destiny 2 as a solo player. Of course in D1 it was something that players did quite often, but mechanically it's not possible in D2. However, thanks to a bit of help from Cheese Forever, Snazzy Rock was able to kill Crota solo by using the finisher yeet glitch that some of you guys may remember has been used a few times in Destiny 2, where essentially, if you line up an enemy in front of Crota and then use a finisher on that target, if they're in the right proximity to each other, the physics impulse of the finisher itself can actually catch the boss and basically blast them away, which is what happened right here. So you can see they perform a finisher on the knight in front of Crota, and I'm not sure if it's the physics of the player itself or the enemy that's being finished, but it is possible, as we've seen previously with bosses like Keitel or even Insurrection Prime back in Scourge of the Past, to actually yeet the boss off the map and out of the zone. And in the case of Crota, yes, that does mean you can technically get a solo kill. So finally we've got some big cheese for Crota in Destiny 2, although it's probably harder to cheese Crota this way than it is to simply complete the encounter, as lining the enemies up correctly and the sort of RNG element of that physics transfer is pretty unreliable, but certainly something that's fun to see, and I'll link the full videos from Cheese Forever and Snazzy Rock who managed to get that solo kill down below. Another quick thing right here that Destiny Bulletin shared, but a player, Cory Sucks, actually managed to make the Exodus Blue map in COD Zombies with this pretty cool Steam community contribution. So in case you ever wanted to see a Destiny map inside of Call of Duty, there you have it, pretty cool, and I'll link it down below if you want to check out the full clip. The final thing to mention right here though, and Destiny Bulletin also shared an article from IGN, and according to that article, Bungie are being sued by a former HR manager for wrongful termination, and they alleged that they were let go when they raised a potential case of racial discrimination to supervisors at the company. And a former HR manager filed a complaint, stating that they were instructed to investigate the performance of a particular employee, and essentially that member of the Bungie team expressed that they felt they were being singled out and potentially racially targeted by a supervisor at the firm. But upon reporting that to supervisors at Bungie, they alleged that their recommendation was met with hostility and denial, and ultimately they were asked to voluntarily resign according to the complaint, and shortly after that were let go from Bungie. And so they're now attempting to sue Bungie for retaliation and wrongful termination, with a trial set for January 2024. And of course this follows previous IGN reports on the work culture at Bungie, where over 25 employees alleged that the company had a history of allowing toxic culture to fester, including racial and gender bias. And while obviously it's very difficult to verify these things externally, it isn't a good thing that these things end up in the news, especially following those previous reports from IGN. Another recent sort of public controversy, such as the use of the term Latinx that Bungie used recently, which did spark a lot of debate and complaints in the Destiny community. Nonetheless, I thought it was interesting to cover, and if you want to read the recent IGN article, I will link it in the description box below. But for today guys, that's what we have to speak about in the video, so just a few news bits to cover. As always, I hope you found this one interesting, and if you have, a rating below really does help us out. Plus, if you're new to the channel, feel free to get subscribed and I'll keep you posted with more news. Otherwise though, as always, thank you for watching today, and I will catch you guys very soon.